Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? It is currently 3:57 p.m. on this beautiful Friday afternoon. I just looked up the weather, hold on a second, and it was 77 degrees and full sunshine. It's really nice out. There is a little bit of a breeze outside, but not like horribly windy or anything like that. Just a beautiful summer breeze out. And I am fully rested. I went to bed super early last night. I think it was like 10 or 10:30, I laid down. Alex was watching some TV, and so I was like, I'm gonna lay down for a little bit and I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna watch some shows. I wasn't really sure what shows I was gonna watch. But my alarm went off like right as he was going to bed. So I turned my alarm off and I was like, I'm just gonna sleep for a little bit more, and if I wake up, I'll watch shows, and if I don't, I'll sleep till the morning. So, I kept on sleeping, and I woke up at about 6 or 6:15, and I was like wide awake from sleeping, 8 hours or whatever. And so I came downstairs and I got some water in a clay mug. And then I got some sleepy time tea because I was going to try to go back to sleep for a couple hours. And I came out here and sat and I just listened to Taylor Swift music. I've been on kind of like this Taylor Swift kick lately where I've been just like listening to a lot of her music. I don't really know why, but so I just sat out here in the early morning, and there were like a lot of people like walking and running really early in my neighborhood, so I just kind of waved to them and said hi, and then I went back to bed after Alex left for work for a couple hours, and then I got up, and I've just been sitting out here drinking iced coffee and waving to my neighbors, and talked to my neighbor across the street about pickleball a little bit. He was telling me that the league is on Wednesday evenings. And he was like, so you got to order your racket so I can teach you, so we can start getting you in the league and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, okay. So I think I'm going to do that. I think today I'm going to order my pickleball racket, and I'm kind of excited about that. I never thought I would get excited about pickleball, but I think I'm kind of excited about that. It'll be something that will, fill my summer evenings, and I have something to do, and then he and I can just go down there on the off days if we want to and play a little pickleball and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be fun. So I didn't watch any shows last night. I actually don't even know what shows I have to watch, because my Friday shows, well, I think I have Love. I should look and see. I think I have Love and Death, the Candy Montgomery story. Let me look and see if the newest episode is out. Okay. Love. Let's see if it says new episode. So the newest episode came out. It's called Shh. So I'm going to watch that episode tonight. And then I don't know what else I have to watch. Let me see my TV shows I'm watching. I could watch Fear the Walking Dead. High Desert I already watched this week. Below Deck, Mediterranean, I'm on season 5. I've kind of like stalled on that for a while. I'm kind of bored of it. Saint X, I really never got started in, so I might start that. Love and Death. Real Housewives of Atlanta, we already watched this week. From season 2, I don't think comes out until Sunday. RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars comes out tonight, so it will depend on, Alex and I watch that together, on whether he actually goes to his friend's house for this barbecue or not. He's not sure if he's going to do it or not. So if he doesn't, then we'll watch RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars, and then Yellow Jackets, which I need to see if there's a way that I can watch Yellow Jackets, because I know it came out last night. But I don't have the Showtime app, which I guess I could just get the Showtime app and watch it on there. But anyway, because Mel watches it on Thursdays, but I don't have it until Sundays to watch, which I don't know why. So, but it's the season finale of Yellow Jackets, so I'm real excited about that. So if I can figure that out, I'll watch Love and Death, and I'll watch Yellow Jackets, and then I might start watching Fear the Walking Dead again, or Saint X. I'm kind of like really in the mood to just binge watch a show this weekend. So I'm thinking that Saint X might be the show. Saint X and Daisy Jones and the Six. I think those might be the 2 shows that I binge watch this weekend. Although, I'm really in the mood to watch thrillers right now. I think, like, watching those movies like Missing and Searching got me, like, really hyped for watching thrillers, because they were just such well-done thriller movies. I put up on Twitter yesterday that I was looking for a new TV show to binge, and I said, if you guys have any recommendations, let me know. And it was so funny because so many people recommended shows that I'm already watching, like Yellow Jackets. So many people recommended From, and I'm already, you know, obviously watching that. And what was the other show that people recommended that I'm already watching? I can't remember. But I've got a whole list. Oh, Ozark. The thing about Ozark is, I think it's like 4 seasons or something. Like, I don't want to start Ozark until I finished and caught up with Fear the Walking Dead. Because I don't want to have another series that I'm like 3 or 4 seasons in, you know what I mean, that has like that many seasons to catch up and watch at the same time. Like, I don't want to, you know, be watching like 2 episodes here of 1 season of a show, 2 episodes here of another season of a show. There's all these kids. There's 2 women walking by and 3 kids with fishing poles. A lot of people fish in our neighborhood because we have these lakes, which are basically ponds, but they call them lakes because they have them stocked with all kinds of fish and stuff like that. And one of my neighbors told me that they have water in the pool and that they're opening the pool. My neighbor across the street, she's on the committee to do landscaping for the pool, and her husband told me that she's been down there all day and they're doing landscaping on the pool. I was actually going to put on my Hokas and take a walk today and listen to my audiobook. So I'm thinking about doing that, and I'm also, when I get done vlogging, one of the reasons why I'm trying to vlog a little bit earlier today is that I'm going to finish the walkway, so that hopefully sometime this weekend I can get some mulch and put the mulch down on it, and that's my plan. So I don't really have a whole lot more to do with the walkway, so I'm hoping to like bump that out tonight and then finish it up tomorrow, or tomorrow's Saturday. Sunday I won't be able to get mulch because Alex is going to the race. So I would have to get mulch tomorrow, which we could get mulch and then just like put it by the garage, and then when I'm ready to do it, I could do that on Sunday, I guess. I don't know. I was kind of thinking today I might just like take the weekend off from making videos, and well, I would still film my vlog obviously, but doing other videos, but I don't know. But I do think today I'm not going to film any other videos, and I'm going to work on the walkway, and I want to take a walk, and then I also want to work on my closet. Those are my 3 goals today. Plus, people don't really typically watch a lot of videos on Fridays. So if I'm going to take a day off, I think like Friday is a good day to like take a day off and not, you know, post videos. I still have to watch that Marlene Estelle and Kendall Ray podcast so that I can make my response to that on my drama channel, and I haven't watched that. I was just looking at my feet, which are actually, surprisingly, in pretty good condition, but I was like, I would really like to get a pedicure at one point. Tanya and I used to go and get pedicures all the time. But before summer starts, I'd really like, or maybe like the first week or 2, I'd like to get a pedicure. So, I don't know, maybe I'll do that in the next week or 2. Take an Uber up and get a pedicure. Something's flying over. Alex got off work about 2 o'clock, and he and his girlfriend went out to brunch. And her daughter just graduated from pre-kindergarten yesterday, and the pictures were so sweet. We had 2 friends of ours whose daughters graduated from pre-kindergarten, and I was like watching all the videos and the pictures and stuff. It kind of like cracks me up. I don't remember, well, I know for a fact when I grew up, we didn't have like pre-kindergarten graduation, we didn't have like kindergarten graduation, we didn't have like elementary school graduation. Like, my nephews have had all of that too. We didn't have all that when I was growing up. I don't remember us like, and they wear caps and gowns and stuff like for pre-kindergarten. It's so cute, you know, for pre-kindergarten graduation. I don't know, I think it's kind of nice, you know, that like they do all these special things for like the passing of time and whatever. What's really funny is I actually went to, a lot of people in my neighborhood go to this church that's real close to us up here. I think it's an Episcopalian church, and I actually went to nursery school there, which is so crazy. And my dad always tells this story about how he remembers that he came there for Dad's Day, and they served, like we served them I would have been like 4 or 5 at the well, 5 because we moved to Indianapolis when I was 5. Well, we moved to Indianapolis when I was like 4.5, so I would have been like 5 at the time, and I don't even think we called it pre-K back then. We just called it nursery school, maybe. I don't know, but my dad always tells a story about he came to the school for like Dad's Day, and like we served them like little cups of water with like saltine crackers with butter on it. And they had to act like they were real excited about the butter on the saltines with water and stuff like that. It's so funny. My dad tells these, he has like the funniest stories from when I was growing up as a kid. He tells a story about, he was in this father's group that my mom like got us involved in. I don't know what age I would have been, probably about the same age, like 5 to 7, 5 to 8 or something like that, but it was called Foolish Fathers. And it was just like a group that like fathers did stuff with their kids like on the weekends. And so it was like a way for like moms to have like, you know, like a weekend day off or whatever, like I think it was like once a month or something like that. And so like the dads would like one dad a month would like organize some kind of outing. And my dad like years ago, I wish I could find this somewhere, because it was such a beautiful letter that my dad wrote me on Father's Day. Oh God, I wish I knew where that was, that I could read it. I don't even know where it is in the house, but my dad like sent me this long thing about what he thought about Father's Day. He calls it a Hallmark holiday and all this kind of stuff. But let me see if I can find it. But he tells a story about foolish fathers and how, like, when he, like, we would go and they would do, like, you go to the pumpkin patch in October, and he goes, I can remember still at 8 o'clock in the morning, like, going to the pumpkin patch and it being, like, cold and rainy. And he was like, when he did it, he rented out, like, a Noble Roman's pizza because he wanted to be inside or something like that. I can't remember how he said it, but, shoot. I think I read it in a video years ago. I really wish I could find this to read. But I can't. I don't know where I would have it in my phone. I did find some of these essays I used to write back in the day, though. Should I read you guys this one? This is called I Always Wanted to Be Wonder Woman. I'm still not sure what went wrong. I grew up with 2 loving parents who told me I could be anything I wanted to be as long as I believed in it strong enough and put enough work into my dreams. I always wanted to be Wonder Woman. In fact, I wanted it so bad that for Christmas, when I was 4 years old, my dad made me a Wonder Woman costume out of a brand new pair of underpants and an undershirt. I even had a long piece of yellow yarn that I could throw around people as my golden lasso of truth. Yet it never seemed to do the trick. I had been lied to all along. I couldn't be anything I wanted to be, not really. The sad truth is that I wouldn't learn this for many, many years. A year after my fantastic costume had been worn out, we moved from an apartment into a house with a full cement basement. That winter, famous internationally for the Midwest blizzard of '79, which I actually think was '78, Became more famous locally as a bitter winter of discontent between my parents. Between shouting matches where I could hear my father trying to console my mother, my friend Jessie and I would roller skate in that magnificent cement basement, roller rink, she playing the part of Hugh Hefner in a long red kimono and myself as Donna Summer. We'd laugh and hold long pencils like they were cigarettes and act like we were hanging out at the Playboy Mansion, something which had become a fascination to both of us just earlier that year. As we pumped our legs across the cement, Donna Summer crooned bad girl lyrics under the strung Christmas lights hanging from the steel frames holding the house together, while upstairs, my life fell apart. That same year, I also decided I wanted to be one of the Charlie's Angels, as long as it was anyone but Sabrina. It was becoming apparent to me that women just had more fun in life, while my mom and her friends would sit around drinking martinis and smoking cigarettes, listening to Bad Disco or Fleetwood Mac's Rumors album. They'd laugh and gossip, dancing in their tight jeans and wedge sandals, their long hair flowing down their backs. Thelma Houston's Don't Leave Me This Way became my mother's mantra that year, figuratively and literally. She sang and he left, and in retrospect, I don't blame him one bit. My mother was a lot to handle. She's fluctuated from baking cookies in the kitchen to playing tennis days on end to reading James Joyce and speaking intellectually nonstop about the importance of stream of consciousness writing and analysis 4 times a week. The year was 1977, and amidst blizzards, divorces, I guess it was 77, divorces and roller skating in the basement, life was really, really good. That summer, all the neighborhood kids would have baseball tournaments in the cul-de-sac, and even though by that point I could run a base or two, I quickly learned it was safer to hang out on the metal electric box with the other girls and play cheerleader while sucking on generic flavor ices and slapping our ass cheeks when the boys yelled crude statements. And looking back, I don't remember anyone making fun of me or treating me any differently. I fit in with my short terry cloth yellow shorts with white trim and a matching tank top, complete with knee-high socks and off-brand shoes. My hair hung in feathered bangs, and I felt wonderful. I never wanted to be a woman. I just wanted to fit in and have a tribe of people like myself. I liked being a boy. It just seemed that girls had more fun. In almost 43 years, I don't think I've ever felt more like myself than I did sitting on that gray metal electric box with Jessie, laughing at the boys and slapping our ass cheeks and telling them to kiss it. I was 5 years old. I couldn't wait for weekends with my cousin Caroline where I could harass her friends and listen to their conversations. Hold on a second. Okay, plane going by. I couldn't wait for weekends with my cousin Caroline when I could harass her friends and listen to their conversations about softball and boys. I remember our dads taking us to see Star Wars, the Star Wars, for the very first time. Later that year, our grandma would take us both to see Raggedy Ann and Andy. She would only be alive for a few more years, but neither of us knew it at that time. On our weekends with Grandma, we'd lay awake next to each other, both hunkered into one single bed in our jammies, and we whispered to each other while the cars rode away into exciting adventures on the street outside our grandma's apartment. The next day, we'd wake up to hee-haw and Lawrence Welk while our grandma played bridge with her friends, smoking cigarettes and drinking strong cups of coffee. I so wanted to be one of them, shuffling cards like a Vegas dealer and throwing them down with a cigarette gripped by the corner of my mouth. On my birthday that year, I asked for a doll that would eat and poop. My mother replied that she thought it was a good idea because one day I would be a father and it would help prepare me. My father was a good sport about it too, and I still have pictures of he and I hiking in the woods, the poor, naked, pooping doll in a death grasp in my hand. That fall, I entered school, and the truth came out. One fall day, while eating in the lunchroom, a boy made a joke about me being a homo, like the homogeneous milk carton. The mystery was out. I was different, except no one had told me that before. I had just been a kid who was allowed to wear Wonder Woman costumes and lasso the truth out of people. I was able to be Donna Summer or an ass-slapping cheerleader. No one had criticized me either way. Even the likes of me carrying around a naked doll with ratty hair had never fazed anyone. Yet in one moment in the lunchroom, I was different. I don't even remember who said it. In my memory, I don't see a face and I don't hear a voice. I definitely don't know a name. All I remember is the feeling that accompanied all of that laughter. Shame. I stopped talking and grew very silent, suddenly very afraid that my movements or voice might trigger more laughter. I did not expect to get so emotional about this. There is quite a difference between laughing with you and laughing at you. I have, like many others, experienced both, and they do not feel the same. It would take many, many years, almost into my late 30s, until I was once again comfortable to move freely and speak with the tongue I was naturally given. But I have never again felt the way I felt on that gray metal electrical box. Sometimes I wish I could go back to those carefree days of bad girls and roller skating through a blizzard. Hell, I might even be Sabrina if it meant I could be one of the Charlie's Angels. And many, many times I've dreamed of flying away in an invisible plane. After all, I still kind of want to be Wonder Woman. Wow. Where am I out on time? Okay, I stopped it because I started looking for this Father's Day letter and then it just went. It was like 5 minutes and I was still like looking for it. I have no idea how to find it. I don't even know where it is. But it was this like typewritten letter that my dad sent me on Father's Day one day. But anyway, that was about me wanting to be Wonder Woman. I feel so blessed, you know, when I look back on parts of my childhood, you know, like my parents, both of them had their faults, and I think they did their best. But I think about, you know, I think it's really easy to look back. I'm going to find that letter because I want to read it, I think, again on Father's Day this year. I feel like I did a video on my Peterisms channel, and I may have read it at one point. So I might have to just find that video in my, I don't know. But I don't remember where I put that letter. I'm sure I've got it saved in some like special kind of place or something like that. But I've also always wanted to get on video and read the eulogy that I wrote at my mom, or I read at my mom's funeral. And a couple years ago, it was interesting because I was like going through my suits. And I found the suit that, I mean, I have like probably 30 suits, which I know is strange because I never wear suits, right? But I found the suit that I had worn to my mom's funeral. And in the inside pocket was the eulogy, like typed and folded. And I put it somewhere, and I don't remember for the life of me where I put it. And I have like everything of my mom's saved in like a Christmas ornament box. Like I have like her wallet and her glasses and her watch. Like, just, you know, the things that are important to me I have saved in, like, this little box. But I think I might have put it in there. But I wanted to read that eulogy on a video for a while. But I also would like to read that letter from my dad because it's a really cool letter. And, you know, I think sometimes it's easy. You know, I talk about having had childhood trauma and things like that, but the childhood trauma that I had was not related to my parents. Like, even my mom's drinking, I don't know that it really... I mean, there were things that happened, obviously, when I was younger, and I've talked about them on here with my mom and her drinking, like, on Christmas and things like that, but it wasn't as often until I got into, like, high school that I think I really realized, like, how bad the drinking was with my mom. The childhood trauma that I have suffered, that much of which I haven't even talked about ever on video, and I don't know that I ever will, has nothing to do with my parents. I think, you know, it's really easy. So the reason I'm saying that is because I think it's easy to look back on our childhood sometimes, and especially when it comes to family or parents or whoever raised you, to look at the negative and not the positive. And I'm not taking away from anybody's story that had horrific childhoods. I'm not talking about that, you know? I mean, I had bad things that happened in my childhood, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just when it comes to my parenting. You know, I think they did their best. And the thing is that I think there are so many really good things and right things that my parents did. You know, my dad... if he was sitting right here, like, so many people are like, well, why doesn't your dad ever do videos with you or something? My dad's a very private person, both he and my stepmom. Like, he doesn't want to be, he would do it for me if I, like, really asked him. I was like, Dad, it's really important for you to do a video with me. Like, he would do it. But he doesn't want to be in a video. Like, he has no desire to bring attention to himself or doing that kind of stuff. He's a very private person. They really rarely ever leave their house and things like that. I mean, they do to go to the grocery store and stuff like that. But, like, they just they love their house. You know, they live on a beautiful lake. And so, like, I mean, he just sits outside and looks at the birds and the animals and hangs out with the dog. And but if he were sitting here, what he would say is, I had feelings at a very young age that Peter was gay. And my dad is somebody that believes that you are born gay. And he just was like, you know, like right out of the gate, there were things that were just, that I acknowledged that were different about you. And I think as a parent, even more so than my mom, who was like really liberal minded and had a lot of gay friends, I think my dad almost kind of like catered to that to some degree and was very understanding. I mean, you know, making me a Wonder Woman costume and just allowing me to be whoever I wanted to be, you know, and really never questioning it. And the thing is that school was very difficult for me. School was scary for me, but I would come home and home, even though like my mom drank a lot, as far as like being myself, because there were times that I didn't feel safe, but as far as being myself, home felt like a very safe place for me. You know, I was always able, whether it was at my mom's house or my dad's house or my aunt's house or any of my aunt's houses, you know, or whatever, or my grandma's house, I was able to be myself. Like, nobody ever questioned that. I was able to put on shows and dance and, you know, sing and whatever. And, like, I don't remember ever, like I said in that thing, like, I don't remember ever being made to feel different or wrong about that. Like, I can remember, like, my Aunt Janny, like, my dad's sister, she gave me pictures of this years ago. Like, I would, you know, go and stay on her farm. I mean, like, they were farmers, you know, in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I would go stay on her farm in the summer, and we would make, like, we would make wedding dresses out of, like, newspapers, and I would put them on, and she would take pictures of me, and I loved it, you know. Or she loved country music, and she'd sing Tammy Wynette, and I'd sing Dolly Parton, and we played out like we were those people. You know, I mean, like, I don't remember anybody ever making me, and her husband was, like, super masculine, you know, farmer guy, and laughed and thought it was, you know, funny and cute and whatever, and nobody ever made me feel bad or wrong for who I was, which I think was kind of what shut me down into silence when I went to school, because I did become very silent in school, like, and not talking to a lot of people, not befriending a lot of people, because I was scared. I didn't know, you know, I just didn't know what people would say, or, I mean, I didn't have to do anything, and people said stuff. So then to do something, I was, like, even more afraid, you know. I wish, there's a book, I can't remember what the book is called, I think it's called Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. And there's a story in there where the guy's, like, looking out of his house, and he's watching these kids play hide and seek. And there's one kid that is, like, hidden too well. I think he's, like, under, like, leaves or something in this, like, pile in the front yard. And he says at the end of, they're just, like, page and a half essays. I loved this book. And he says at the end of it, "Get found, kid, get found," right? Like, you want to be part of this. You don't want to just, like, have the best hiding space. Well, I think that's kind of what happened to me over time, was that I had a really good hiding place. Like, I realized, like, if you don't do anything, it won't draw attention to you. And if you don't say anything or you don't act differently, it won't draw attention to you. And you don't want any attention on you because you don't want people making fun of you, because that hurts, that's hard. And people already were, so I just wouldn't do anything, you know? Didn't interact with anybody, didn't really talk and whatever, which is interesting because, like I say about going into 6th grade, which was when all the elementary schools went into, like, junior high, which I guess now they have 5th and 6th together, which is intermediate school, because my nephew is going into, he's going to be in 5th grade next year, he's going into intermediate school, which we didn't have back then. It was first kindergarten through 5th, and then 6th through 9th, and then 10, 11, 12 was high school. We called it junior high. And so 6th grade was really good for me because it was like 4 or 5 different elementary schools that came together in one junior high, and nobody really talked about, like, I mean, I wasn't, like, I didn't have a target on my back. Like, people weren't really making a lot of fun of me at that time because there were so many people that were making new friends and all this kind of stuff, right? And I had a couple really good friends in 6th grade. 6th grade was a really good year for me. But then we had a falling out that summer that I didn't even really know. To be honest with you, I didn't even really know why it happened until several years ago, because one of my friends is in recovery, and she and I were talking about it one night after a meeting, and she's like, "You don't know what happened?" I think I talked about it on here. And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Well, our other mutual friend told me that you guys were like holding hands and whatever, and this girl was supposedly like my girlfriend. I mean, this is 6th grade, right? So neither one of them talked to me, and I went into 7th grade and I had literally no friends. None whatsoever. And 7th and 8th grade were really hard for me. I didn't really have any friends whatsoever. I didn't talk to anybody. I just was alone. And that was almost worse for me. And I don't even think I really realized it until I was talking about this in vlogs years ago. That was almost worse for me than being bullied, because it was like I would walk the halls and it was like nobody even noticed me. I would sit in classes and nobody would talk to me. It was like nobody said hi, nobody acknowledged me. I mean, there would be whole days that would go by where nobody talked to me, you know? And what's interesting is, you know, I've gotten a couple comments from people recently on vlogs, and I totally, hey, listen, I understand what you're saying, but people are like, you know, you talk so much about your past, like, I really wish that you could, like, move past that and whatever, like, you know, whatever. I've, like, talked a lot about it in therapy, but one of the things that happened with our old therapist is I was in a session with him one day, and we were talking about being bullied, and he said, has anybody ever suggested to you that you suffer PTSD from, like, being bullied? Which I don't know if that is the case or not. And he was like, because it would make a lot of sense. He was like, I really think that you being bullied as often as you were repetitively through the years, or being ignored, like, really had a traumatic effect on you that you've really never acknowledged to yourself. That because your mode of getting through it was just deal with it, don't say anything, just deal with it, keep your head down, don't acknowledge it, whatever, right? And I'm being bombarded with all of this stuff, or being ignored, which in retrospect, I think 7th and 8th grade were 2 of the hardest years for me ever, because it was almost worse being ignored than being made fun of. And I really don't even know how to explain that unless you've gone through it. What it really makes you feel like is, it doesn't matter if I'm here. It doesn't matter if I exist. Nobody would miss me. And I was at a really low part, you know. That's when my grades started really going downhill. That also coincides with when I started drinking by myself in my bedroom, you know, stealing alcohol from my parents and stuff like that. And they were just really, really dark times for me. They were really hard times for me. And so even though I'm 50 years old, I feel like how I act today is still based on a lot of those first 18 years of my life. Even though I've worked through a lot of that pain, I mean, I really have, and acknowledged it, and directly worked through the pain and addressed it and all that kind of stuff, like, it's still, like, there's still, like, battle scars there that hurt, you know? And it's interesting because, like, when you talk about Al-Anon, I have friends of mine that, like, let's say if they grew up with an alcoholic parent and they're 50 and, like, their parents might have, like, passed away 20 years ago, like, they still go to Al-Anon because they still, to some degree, today, have certain behaviors or actions that they do in their life because of how they were parented 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago by an alcoholic parent, right? And so it's not about just move on, forget the past, don't acknowledge it or whatever. I think to some degree it's being very aware of your past and where you came from. I don't want to stay stuck in it. I don't want to sit and talk about it forever. Part of why I do talk about it is to help somebody else. I'm not going to say who this is, but I got a message just yesterday from somebody that had watched a video of mine that I did on bullying years ago, and they said something about, I'm binging some of your old videos today and came across one from 6 years ago called Bullying and How to Get Over It. I was bullied for many years too, and it wasn't as bad as what you went through, but it was bad enough that I've never been able to get past it. And they talk about their age, and they talk about having kids and how much it affects them and whatever. And they said, you're making a difference in people's lives, and I know I'm just one of so many who genuinely, greatly appreciate what a genuinely kind and loving person you are. God bless. And I really appreciate that, you know, and it's like, that's why I do tell the stories of what I've gone through. That's why I do talk about having been bullied in the past, you know. And it's interesting to me today when I talk to friends of mine whose kids are being bullied in school, and it's like teachers don't really acknowledge it, because I don't think that teachers are well versed or know what to do. And I also think that teachers don't have the backing from the school corporations necessarily to do what they need to do. And, you know, all of these schools now have no bullying this, no bullying that, or whatever, but very few of them really stick to it, you know? I can tell you, I don't know about other people out there that have been bullied, but I had very few teachers that stood up for me. Very few. And I even had deans and principals and counselors basically insinuate that it was my fault that I was being bullied. Like, well, what are you doing to instigate them? What are you, you know, they would ask me these questions. And I had this French teacher, and it's kind of like, this is from my book, if you ever read my book, which if you want to read my book, don't buy it for whatever ridiculous amount it is on Amazon. I'm not selling it on Amazon. That's somebody else that bought it and selling it for $300 or something like that. That's the reason why I read the entire book on my BookTube channel. You can go find it. I read like 3 chapters at a time, and you can go hear the whole thing if you want to hear it. But there are scenes in there. There was a scene when the main character's in a French class, and he's being bullied in the French class by the guy that bullies him throughout the book. And the teacher really does nothing. And in that scene, she says something to him as he's walking out of the room, like, I'm sorry. Well, that happened to me. And I had a teacher that, and I loved this teacher. Like, I can remember talking to her. I was always in class early, and I would be reading, like, The Sun Also Rises by Hemingway or something, you know, and she would say, oh, I love that book, and we would talk about novels and literature and whatever, but, like, as soon as kids would start saying something to me in class, she'd shut down, like, she didn't know what to say. And I can remember, like, one time she said to me, I'm sorry, like, and I'm like, then stand up for me. Like, you're an adult, you know? Like, send that person to the principal's office. Send them to the dean's office, you know? And, like, a lot of times teachers wouldn't know what to do with me. And so they would, you know, they would be the ones that would send me. I have to tell you what's so interesting about this is, and, like, I also had, I was in a study hall, and I had a teacher that, I don't even really want to get into this. I had a friend of mine that was like, that's just, like, knew this person and was like, they would never act that way. And I'm like, are you really challenging me? Like, that really happened. Like, there were people in that classroom that saw it, that came up to me afterwards and like, that is ridiculous. But I had this teacher that just, it was not good. I've talked about that on here before. And anyway, I mean, she laughed at how I spoke. So anyway, probably one of the kindest gestures that I had was the gym teacher at the time that I had to take gym. So when I was in high school, we had to take a year of gym, and it was my sophomore year. And we had to take swimming to pass gym. And I remember I was given such hell in the locker room, and I was given such hell just participating in gym. Like, kids were not nice. I mean, they were really, really cruel to me. And the guy that was my gym instructor, he was also the football coach, and he was a super masculine guy, like really masculine. And I did swimming, and I did the tennis rotation, I remember, because I played tennis, and so I was like, I'm going to do this. And then something happened, I can't remember, but I kept on, like, not, like, participating in gym and having, you know, notes and stuff like that. And he came to me with, like, a clip note or a clipboard, and he was like, you're just not going to participate, are you? And I was like, no, like, I didn't even say anything to him, and he was like, I'm going to make you my assistant. And he made me my assistant, and he passed me for the class. And it was one of the kindest things he ever did to me, or ever did. It was one of the kindest gestures of anybody ever, teacher or student, that I ever had in high school. I think that he knew that, like, what pain I was going through by being in there. And, like, you know, you have this guy, and he was really nice to me. I mean, I'd, like, write down stuff for him, and I just follow him around during gym class and whatever, but, like, he was super nice, you know? And I think about that, and I think about, he didn't have to do that, you know? He could have made me do everything I was supposed to do, like, you know? But he didn't. And I think about I mean, he was, like, the football coach that, like, led the football team to, like, 10 state championships or something. I think he's since passed away. But I think about that. I think about the kindness. I mean, we never even talked about it. He never even said, like, like, I know you're probably gay, and that's why people are giving you a hard time, but, like, I'm just gonna make, I mean, there was no conversation. It was just like, here, you're gonna be my assistant. And I was like, okay. And because he's like, you're not gonna participate, are you? And I was like, no. And he was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna fight you on it. Here, you can be my assistant. To be honest with you, I know people want me to get the stories the same way and all this kind of stuff. It's been 30 some years, you guys. It's been, I don't know, now that's been 35 years. I don't remember exactly how it went down, but I do remember that he was just a really genuine, kind soul, and really was caring enough to realize that I wasn't gonna make it, you know? And it was a reprieve for me to have somebody else acknowledge and say, I see you, I see what you're going through. And I will say that, like, it also kind of always came from, like, people that I wouldn't expect. Like, I took photography, I think 2 or 3 years in high school, and I had this photography teacher through most of it that was like this older guy, and, you know, looked like he smoked like 5 packs of Reds a day and stuff like that. And, you know, any of the arts classes I took, which I took quite a few, I didn't really get a lot of crap in those classes because it was like artsy kids and whatever, you know, and they could care less. But I do remember, like, there was this kid, and actually one of the reasons why I remember this was because I just saw that he passed away, like, last year. They posted it in my, like, high school group that he had passed away last year, this guy. And the only thing I remembered about him was that he sat in front of me in one photography class that I had this teacher, and he would constantly say crap to me, constantly, derogatory stuff. And every time this teacher heard it, if he heard it, he would, like, call him out and say something about it. He's like, well, no, we're not doing that in this class. Like, if you've got a problem with Peter, like, you can leave the class. And he was, like, the other teacher that really stood up for me. But, you know, like, I had a lot of teachers that literally right in front of them would hear kids call me the F word or make fun of me, and they just have a blank stare on their face. And I can remember being really mad about it. And I can remember my friends being like, I can't believe that teacher wouldn't say anything. Because my friends were standing up for me in classes and getting in trouble when teachers weren't even standing up for me, you know? And I always kind of, to some degree, had sympathy for these teachers. I don't know why, like, that they just really didn't know what to do in that situation. You know, they really didn't know how to handle the situation. So, but I think that was kind of what was hard for me, was that, you know, like, in school, I was so made fun of and I was so bullied. And then at home, I was just able to be, and with my friend group, I was just able to be whoever I wanted to be, you know? And so it was like, I would go home or with my friends and be whoever I wanted to be, but then I would go to school and I had to, like, tone it down and mute it and not be myself. So I don't really feel like, to some degree, I ever really lived, you know, like, and that was even going into college and stuff like that, you know. It was funny because the other day, so I follow, like, Sandra Bernhardt, and I follow, like, Sandra Bernhardt fan account or whatever, which they always post these things about, like, clips of her being on David Letterman. Sandra Bernhardt is probably one of the reasons why I felt so comfortable coming out, and also helped me get very comfortable in my own skin. I don't really, to this day, know what it was about her or anything like that, but I loved her dearly. And I would watch her on David Letterman, and she just was so ruthlessly herself. I actually put this clip up on my Instagram story, and it was when she said, talking about somebody getting their lip filler, I think it was Jessica Hahn, and she said that people don't know how to handle it because she had big lips, you know, and that you have to grow up with these lips or whatever. And she goes, it's a lip thing, which I used to say in some of my videos. And, but I used to watch her on David Letterman, and I just loved her. And then when she came out with her one-person show, which was called Without You, I'm Nothing, I knew every word to that entire show. I had the tape cassette. I would listen to it over and over and over. It would drive my friends crazy. I knew every word to it. I would cut out pictures of her and Madonna when they were friends, and I had them, like, taped to my locker. I loved Sandra Bernhardt. I loved her so much. And there was something about, and this was long before she was ever out, you know, like had come out of the closet and stuff. There was just something about her that was like so undeniably just herself. And I so wanted that. Like, that was so inspiring to me, to just be able to get on a talk show and be like, here's who I am, you know, and then she'd like look at Paul from the band and be like, sing it, you know, and like that's who I wanted to be. I wanted to be able to live that way because that's who I felt like I was inside, which I think is why today on like my videos, like when I sing songs, you know, like rock on gold dust woman, like I feel like today to live so unapologetically myself, because for so many years I was unable to do that. Even after I got sober, like I didn't, you know, part of being, hold on, somebody's texting me. Part of getting sober that's tough, you know, is that things that you did drunk or high, like even having sex, right, or being sexually intimate or whatever, that were more comfortable, or dancing in a bar or whatever, you know, or being around people, like for me, whatever, those things were so much more comfortable using. When you get sober, they're uncomfortable, you know, it's like you don't really know how to be. And so even after I got sober, you know, and at that time, I mean, 1994, going into 1995, it wasn't like there were a lot of out people in meetings. And so when I would go to meetings, a lot of the meetings that I would go to, I mean, a lot of these meetings were at like union halls and things like that. And a lot of the people that I was going to meetings with who saved my life and are good friends of mine today and really could care less, but I didn't know that because all I saw was a Carhartt jacket and a trucker hat, you know, and they were 50 at the time or something. And I thought, God, these guys are going to hate me because I'm gay and they probably don't like gay people and whatever. And as soon as I opened my mouth, so a lot of times I just wouldn't say anything in meetings. Well, my sponsor at the time was also like, you have nothing to share, so just keep your mouth shut. You know, just shut your mouth and open your ears is what he would say to me. But I, you know, was so afraid of what these guys would say to me that I just really didn't say anything at all. What I found out later is that they loved me unconditionally, which was awesome. But there were several, my first couple years sober, like, I wasn't really comfortable in my skin. That was something that's taken a long time, you know. I have to honestly say, probably one of the things that's really helped me the most is YouTube. You know, flipping fans and being this exaggerated version of myself, you know, with the lip gloss and throwing it over my shoulder on the drama phone. And, like, that's an exaggerated version of myself. But, you know, do I turn on the music and dance around the house? And yeah, I love to do all that kind of stuff. You know, I was doing it this morning with Boo Radley. And he has now started to, hold on a second, lay down on, I just sent Alex a picture. He sent me a picture of them having a glass of wine and some french fries at lunch. Would you like to see it? Here it is. But I sent him a picture of Boo Radley has now learned to start laying down on the carpet in the bathroom in the sun because that's his favorite place. What was I going to say? Oh, but it took me a long time to start feeling comfortable with being myself and telling stories and of my life and whatever. And I think YouTube really helped that. The vlog really helped me with that, you know, of this is who I am, take it or leave it, you know. And I'm really super grateful for that because I didn't feel that way for a really long time. I also think, and I don't know if this is because of the time that I came out or where the world was at that point or whatever, but I've also always been very protective of other people. And I don't mean protective of like the underdog, which I have been at times, but I mean protective of other people and how they feel. Like, I don't want to shove it in somebody's face. Like, I'm not big on PDA, and I don't want to shove it in people's face and make people feel uncomfortable and those kinds of things. There's been moments that I have, you know, but I don't necessarily, like, that's not who I want to be at my core, because I don't think that's how people get to know you, is what I've learned over time. Like, by shoving stuff in their face, it's not necessarily how they, if they have a different belief system or mindset that you're going to really let them get to know you, which is just what I've learned. And that's a trick sometimes when you don't want to tone yourself down, because I don't today with anybody. I am who I am, you know, out in public and in my neighborhood and everything like that, you know. And I think, like, that's a good example, my neighborhood. Like, they see me out here playing music, you know, my neighbor comes across the street talking about pickleball, and I'll, like, dance over there and whatever, you know. And I think, like I was saying to my neighbor the other day, something I said, I'm really grateful for you guys. Like, this is the woman that gardens. And she's like in her 70s, you know. And I said, I'm really grateful for you guys. Like, you're so kind and you've been so loving to Alex and I. And you always come over here and check on me and stuff like that. And I said, you know, it's kind of weird sometimes I think about the fact that nobody in this neighborhood treats us any different. I mean, we're the only gay couple in this neighborhood. Nobody in this neighborhood treats us differently. Nobody. They're all very nice and gracious to us. And she goes, it's 2023. She goes, why would we? It stopped. She's like, it's 2023. There's gay couples everywhere. Why would we treat you any different, you know? And I thought that that was, like, coming from somebody in their 70s was a very cool attitude, which I know that a lot of people in their 70s have that attitude. But believe it or not, there's still a lot of places that we go that Alex and I, as a gay couple, are treated, you know, weirdly a little bit. Like, people are kind of like, oh, you guys are, you know, a couple, and okay, like, they're kind of like taken aback by it, whatever. It's never who you think it's never who you think it's going to be. Like, that's always what's confusing to me, is like I can never figure it out. Like, the situations I go into where I think it's going to be that way, it's never that way. And the situations where I think it's going to be completely fine is where it's like that people are kind of like, I don't know. But I'm very grateful for my neighbors, and they're awesome. And the being bullied thing is interesting. Like, when I talk about it in a video, I think there's like a small group of people out there that think like I'm consumed with it and I think about it a lot. And the truth is that I really don't ever think about it unless like something comes up on like Facebook, like that guy. Like, and I think about like, oh, I remember him back in my photography class, you know, bullying me. Or if I'm talking about a video and I go into talking about bullying or whatever, like, I really, to be honest with you, like, I don't think that deeply on a daily basis about 30 years ago. I just really don't. And in fact, one of the things I've noticed in just the last probably year or two is I don't really remember things as well as I used to. Like, I don't know if it's because I'm kind of like moving on from some of those stories, or if it's I'm getting older or whatever. I still remember them happening, but I don't remember them happening to me as specifically as, like, I don't remember. Thank you for those of you that said bless you. I don't remember them happening like it's funny because I'm looking across the street at that electrical box, right? And we had one sitting like right front base of the cul-de-sac. And what I mean is, like, you would drive down our street and then it was the cul-de-sac. Our house was here. My friend's house was here. Hey! Hi. What are you doing?
Nothing.
I heard that they're opening the pool.
Do you see it? It's all full.
Oh, it is?
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm going to put my hokas on and walk in a little bit.
Yeah.
I was thinking about volunteering to help out.
Yeah, I don't know what that entails.
Yeah, I don't either.
The chemicals, I bet. Seems easy enough.
Did you move your bedroom yet?
Huh?
Did you move your bedroom yet?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm shampooing all the carpets, so it's just taking a while.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So now my bedroom's in the front there, and then my study and everything's in the back. So it's nice.
She's loving it out here today.
Yeah, she is. She's been dying to get outside.
Aw, well, I won't interrupt your walk.
Good to see you.
Good seeing you too. You look cute.
Thanks.
What was I saying? Yeah, like, I don't think about it, like, on a daily basis. Like, I think a lot of people think, oh, well, Peter, like, thinks about this stuff from the past, like, all the time. Like, I really don't. Like, in all honesty, and this is kind of a sad statement, but, like, I don't even really think about my mom that much anymore. Unless I'm on a video and I'm talking about her telling a story. Like, I really don't. Like, you know, I go inside and make the bed and whatever, you know. Like, I might see, like, a piece of artwork and think, like, oh, my mom this or whatever. But, like, I just don't think about stuff from the past the way that I used to. And I really, to be honest with you, I think that the vlog has really helped me with that, because this vlog for me is very cathartic. It's kind of like therapy, of like sitting down for like half an hour every day and just like talking and telling stories, you know, and getting out like what happened from my past. But then when I turn the camera off, it's not like I sit and I'm consumed with this stuff that happened to me 35, 40 years ago. Like I just don't, you know. Oh, I know what I was talking about with the electrical box. Like, I think the reason why I started crying reading that about the Wonder Woman thing was that when I look back at that period of my life, if I really go back and I think about it, right? That period of my life when, like, Jesse and Katie and I were, like, walking around the streets and talking to the neighbor, and we were like, oh, we've just had such a hard day, you know, and we're chomping our gum and pulling it apart like Poltergeist, and, you know, come to the light, Carol Ann, and, you know, cheerleading the boys as they would play, you know, baseball in the cul-de-sac, which we all play baseball in the cul-de-sac, but, you know, whatever, and just walking up and down the street and all that kind of stuff. And it was kind of such an innocent time for me, because I didn't know that there was anything different about me, if that makes sense. Like, I don't even really know, and I think that's why, like, summer on my street felt very safe for those next couple years, because nobody was mean to me, nobody made me feel any different, they just allowed me to be myself. And so, like, I didn't really know at that time, like, why people at school, I couldn't really, like, figure it out. I mean, I was young, right? Like, why kids at school were mean to me, but, like, kids in the street, which I think, honestly, probably a lot of their parents were like, you're not going to say anything mean to Peter, because they were friends with my mom and stuff like that, right? But, like, I think about that, I was just like, look at that electrical box of us just, like, kicking our feet and whatever. Who is texting me? Spam risks. And I think about that, you know, and I think that was, like, a really innocent time for me. And, like, one of the things I think about is, like, when I was, like, in junior high and high school, well, more high school, because in junior high, like I said, like, most people, like, kind of just ignored me. But in high school was when all these people would come out and say these things about me. And it was ruthless in high school. Like elementary school was because I was so young, like, I didn't really understand what was going on, and so it was so hurtful. And when other people had friends and whatever, like, that was really painful. I even had, like, I remember I, like, look back and, like, playing on the recess or on the playground at recess and stuff like that, and having girlfriends, and girlfriends of mine would say things like, why don't you hang, I mean, these were friends of mine, and they would say, like, well, why don't you hang out with the boys? Like, that's weird. Like, why are you hanging out with us? And I would just say, oh, because I like to hang out with you guys instead, and whatever, because I was, like, wanting to hold on to that friendship any way that I possibly could be. Even my closest friends that I had at school were even, like, making fun of me, kind of, you know? And that even went into, like, high school a little bit. Not with my closest friends, but, like, with girls in school that I had gone to school with for 12 years, you know, they would say things to me, like, you know, in class, why do you hang out with all these freaks? Like, you know, if you didn't hang out with these freaks, like, you would be popular. And I'm like, well, first of all, nobody's asking me over to their house except for my friends that are supposed freaks, okay? And they have my back, and they're the only ones that are wanting to do things with me and be my friends, and they're my diehard good Judies, so why would I not want to be friends with them, okay? It's not like you guys are inviting me to your parties and hanging out. Let's just be for real, you know? But I think, like, one of the things that I was really bitter about, that I don't even know that I really understood at the time, was that I was not able to come out on my own because they stole that process from me. Like, they told me what I was and who I was before I even knew that myself, to fully understand it. Like, and so, you know, I think about, like, this one guy that used to bully me, and he and I are fine today. We've made up, and he's apologized to me numerous times and whatever. But, like, he would come up to me, like, at the lunchroom with his friends, and he would say, well, I'm gay too. Like, can we go on a date together? And, like, just trying to get me to, like, respond. Like, they would make, and he wasn't gay. But, like, my husband's pulling in right now. And he would say, like, you know, like, oh, like, what are you doing Friday night? Like, can we go on a date? Can we hang out? And I think about that sometimes, and I think, like, okay, that was, like, a really, like, and then they would just kind of, like, walk away and whatever, and then he'd be like, I haven't heard from you, and he would call me, like, Sweet Pete and all this kind of stuff. My battery's about to die. It just started flashing red. But he would, you know, say all this stuff to me, but, like, it wasn't like I was going on dates with guys. It wasn't like I was even able to have publicly a crush on anybody. I wasn't able to have these feelings and talk to even my closest friends about it, you know? They stole that from me. They took that from me. I wasn't able to do that. I wasn't able to live out loud and live my truth of what I was experiencing and what I was going through, you know? I had to keep all that to myself, and I was terrified of that, of anybody finding out that. So I was kind of resentful about that, you know? Like, I wasn't even able to come out on my own because they took that process from me. They outed me, you know, and it was hurtful. So anyway, enough about all that. I'm going to get off here now and go see what my husband's doing and start getting this vlog up. I think it's about an hour long. We'll see. I don't know. And I'm going to try to find that Father's Day letter too, so I can read that to you guys. And I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Friday and a fantastic beginning to your weekend. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And remember these 3 very important things. 1, you can start your day over whenever you want. 2, practice random acts of kindness, but shh, don't tell anyone. And 3, most importantly, make sure that you reach out to somebody and let them know how much they mean to you. Like I always say, you might be putting a smile on their face. You might be making their day. You might be changing their weekend for the better, and you might be giving them some hope and motivation that things are going to turn around. They're going to feel better. You don't know. You don't know what somebody's going through right now. So reach out to them and make them feel better. And, be friendly, be a good neighbor, be a good citizen. Also, be kinder to one another, love one another a little bit more, and most importantly, be kinder and love yourselves a little bit more. And, oh, Boo Radley is going crazy. And, what else? Be kinder to yourself, love yourself, be kinder to yourself, love yourself a little bit more, and most importantly, be kinder to others, love others a little bit more, most importantly, be kinder and love yourselves a little bit more. Yep. All right, is that it? I think that's it. And I will see you guys tomorrow. I love you. Bye. Oh, and for those that need to hear it, and those that want to hear it, and those that just happen to stick around, one more, I love you. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you. Happy birthday, Lena.